I did want to introduce you to David Sands. And here's a little bit on our guest speaker today. He is an architect, lead accredited professional who co-founded Bamboo Living and created the first certified and permitted bamboo homes in the world. He also founded another Realco company called Rizome, and that grows bamboo and makes bamboo lumber while sequestering carbon at rates 10 times faster than trees. There's a lot of groundbreaking work that he's been doing for moving forward in this area, and I'm just going to hand that over to David to explain his different businesses and what he does and how we've been supporting him with our bamboo hui. So hi, David.
Hi, thank you, Christina. Wonderful.
So let me close this out. I have to make you a host here, I'm sure. Let me bring up my sharing. Sorry. Let me find you on this list.
Sure. Yeah.
Where are you? Oh, here you go. Yes. All right. I believe you are a co-host. Let me know if you can share your screen.
Yeah, that's working. Let's see. Great. So I figured what I talk about today is bamboo's role in addressing climate change and then the carbon drawdown opportunity here in Hawaii. So the bamboo is actually the fastest carbon sequestration technology on Earth that I know of. It's about 10 times faster than trees. And it's addressing a big problem in that we've got huge emissions associated with global construction, including the 17% for concrete and steel, and then 18 million acres of deforestation each year. So the cool thing about giant timber bamboo is it's the fastest growing plant on Earth. So it should be the fastest natural way to get CO2 out of the atmosphere. We use non-invasive clumping species that are drought and fire resistant perennials, and the plants can live 60 to 100 years with an annual harvest. And what we're doing is storing the carbon in building materials and then avoiding emissions associated with concrete, steel, and wood. And the cool thing is for Hawaii, it really can help address nearly all of Hawaii's fundamentals. So we'll go into some more detail as we're going. And so Hawaii has the right climate for bamboo. There's deforested land, old cane land, old pineapple land. There's local experience, both with growing bamboo and building with bamboo here, and then technical expertise that, to really ramp up a project here. So I've been working with bamboo for over 25 years now. I started in 1995. We've done hundreds of homes throughout Hawaii. We've done projects that have gone through multiple Category 5 hurricanes. Really phenomenal material that performs really well. So the homes that I've been doing are kind of unique in that they use the entire bamboo pole. So I started a company to actually basically develop building materials as an alternate to wood, concrete, and steel. And that's what Rizome is. So what's interesting with the bamboo, it's really the strength on a weight basis is about 2.5 times that of steel. Steel is about twice as strong on a cross-sectional area, but it's about 5 times as heavy. So you end up with this factor that's significant in terms of designing buildings. And then it's regenerative. It's 10 to 12 times less land needed than you would with growing trees. And then when you harvest, you don't kill the tree, so you're not knocking it back to zero. And then our early studies, we were getting a Class A fire rating with the material. And then so we're looking at working on getting bamboo to be the most affordable building material on the planet. And we are on track to reach price parity with wood in 2022. And then the other thing that we've done is we developed a carbon offset program using the bamboo. It again is about 10 times as fast as trees. We're using satellite mapping, now developing drone and machine learning to track the bamboo all the way down to the clump level in terms of the verification of carbon. And then we've already got a large-scale carbon contract for millions of tons of CO2 drawdown in the Philippines, which is something that we could repeat here in Hawaii. And again, that year-over-year growth of the offset market is huge. So it's something that we're already doing. We're doing in the Philippines. You can see in the purple is Hawaii Islands, and in the mauve is the Philippines island. We're working on the southernmost island, Mindanao, right now. And we've got nurseries, planters. We developed a carbon value chain processes, harvesters. We're producing slats now, and we're moving into engineered building products, and really just developing those products as the markets develop. And we're actually, our head of nurseries, Myrna, over on the right, is really been a key player in making this possible in Mindanao. These are branch cuttings from the giant bamboo there that they are turning into nurseries. And so we just last season, we planted about 1,200 acres. We're getting ready to plant a number of thousand acres under a USAID grant. And then with the carbon credit program, we'll be planting tens of thousands of acres. And it's big bamboo. You can see the person standing under the bamboo over there on the left. The bamboo can get to 100 to 120 feet tall and 10-inch diameters. And it grows rapidly. It's getting to full height in just a couple of months. So it's growing, it can be 2 to 3 feet a day when it's shooting. So looking at bamboo for Hawaii, it actually helps with slowing runoff and improving groundwater recharge. We're using it for flood control in the Philippines. There was a big project by Red Cross when I was over there where they were planting in more upstream remote areas to, again, slow the downstream flooding. They'd lost 2,000 people in the last big flood, and we're trying to make a major change. So we're harvesting that mature bamboo. We don't have that kind of bamboo mature here, but again, you can grow it quite fast. This is a clump up in Kaka'ako that's 13 years old. And it's a variety called Giganteas. It's a variety we're using in Florida. The Asper is what we're using in the Philippines currently, but we're actually expanding the species there. And then looking at what we could do with a pretty large project here, like 125,000 acres, old cane land, old pineapple land, anything that's not currently being used for food crops, and really looking at basically part of a reforestation program. Again, the other thing is developing a building materials company industry here in Hawaii. So from the Dendrocalamus asper on that amount of acreage, we'd be harvesting about 7.5 million tons of building material per year, which would generate about 3.7 million tons of CO2e lockup per year. The bamboo is about 50% carbon by weight, and carbon is about 1/3 of the molecular weight of CO2. So every ton of bamboo building material, we're locking up 1.83 tons of atmospheric carbon. And then there's even bigger bamboo. This is a Dendrocalamus sinicus, up to 150 feet tall and 14.5-inch diameter. And those sinicus poles can get up to 990 pounds per pole. Our typical asper poles are between 176 and 220 pounds each. Still big. We've been starting to call them logs because they really are. So the big goal originally with us was to get to a 10 gigaton drawdown by 2050 and replace 2% of global building materials. But what's interesting is, as Elon Musk announced the Carbon Drawdown X Prize, and I thought, well, what could I do with the first prize is $50 million. Could I reverse the climate crisis, basically? And let me go back. And so I actually ran some numbers, and we were originally looking at that 10 gigaton drawdown as being about 1,000 planting units and about 1,000 manufacturing units around the world, some of them combined. We're doing a project right now in Florida, and like I said, the one in the Philippines is rolling along. I'm going to switch to where it's just my, how do I, in slideshare? Pause share. Okay, stop share. So that'll take me back to, yeah. So what was fascinating for me is when I said, okay, let's figure out how would we solve the climate crisis with $50 million. And the way I did it was that we basically, our program in the Philippines cost us about $1 million to set up. There was a carbon methodology, there was a carbon validation event. There's all of this work with local indigenous farmers to develop a network. And so we've been working on that for the last number of years. And so I said, well, if we just did that over and over again and use there's an event called, so basically what we did is we out of pocket set up a program for carbon credits in the Philippines. And then we went and pre-sold that carbon on the voluntary market. So we've got a buyer that's basically paying us to implement a multiple gigaton, multiple millions of tons carbon drawdown over the next decade in the Philippines, which involves tens of thousands of acres. So and there's what they call a verification event in about year 6 when the bamboos matured, and they come and do an audit of the carbon. And that actually provides the opportunity to look at funding new programs. So I said, well, okay, well, the first 8 years, it might take us a couple of years to get all of this set up, 6 years to, set up 20 programs and set up 20, stand up 20 factories. Our small initial line was about $1.5 million. So for like $30 million, we could do 20 programs of that. And so then repeating that every 6 years by 20, and it was actually speeding it up, the last portion, to where we were doing it every 5 years, because what we saw in Florida is with proper husbandry and really kind of regenerative agriculture, we can dramatically speed up the maturation rate and the performance of the bamboo. So it ended up being 1,280 programs by 2060, but that was actually would sequester with the avoided emissions from concrete, steel, and wood that the bamboo would replace. We ended up with a drawdown of up to 37 gigatons a year, which is phenomenal. We're right now putting in between 35 and 55 gigatons a year into the atmosphere with our human activities. So it ended up being that was a 12.8 replacement of global building material with bamboo. And so it's a huge undertaking, but it's worth doing. And so what I looked at for Hawaii was, well, what could we do that's of a similar step out there and make a major difference. And so I looked at maybe we could get up to 125,000 acres into production of bamboo over the next 30 plus years. And what that would do is it would create an industry here for all of our building materials come from the mainland currently. Our manufacturing expert ran one of the largest plywood mills in the world and was hired, I believe, by Kamehameha Schools to assess the situation with the eucalyptus. And he said the eucalyptus didn't work, but the bamboo would work very well here. We ship a lot of empty containers to the West Coast. Those could all be filled with building materials. We could do value added. We could do our own panelized housing here for the entire state. And what's interesting is that the amazing difference in terms of when I was looking at the avoided emissions from concrete. So a concrete building is about 5 times as heavy as a wood building, and a bamboo building would be between 20 and 50% less weight than that wood building. So there's a factor that every ton of bamboo we put into building materials, we're saving 5 tons at least of concrete from being used, and it adds up very fast. So that's how we were able to get to that huge drawdown, as well as doing what there's called biochar with our waste. So you're basically improving the crop performance with the surrounding farmers. So I've been talking a lot. One of the interesting things in the Philippines is we're actually addressing every one of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There's 17 of them, and I know of no project in the world that's doing that. So we're really proud of that, and we just keep expanding our efforts. So I'd be happy to take questions, and here to listen as well.
I can help with the questions that people have, but it looks like Herschel has his hand up. You want to jump in, Herschel?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all the details. I'm actually from Florida originally, and it is pretty interesting to hear. Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
I'm from Tampa area, but that is a weight of buildings and sustainability and trying to maintain the structural integrity against hurricanes are big things there. And with the idea, even in New York, the idea of the peninsula sinking over time, it is a big deal. So I guess I wanted to know, Florida has a lot of farmland. How much have you guys done in Florida thus far? And have you seen, you had mentioned possibly coming at parity with, everyday timber. So I
Right.
just wanted to understand like how the pricing has like shown there, because I mean there is a lot of like like a lot of forest and wood there,
Sure.
but I would assume bamboo would do much better growing there than like regular like oak or maple.
Right. Right. Yeah, we've just really getting started in Florida. We have partners from the citrus industry, family friends that I grew up with, and they, have within the family about 30,000 acres. The citrus is dying because of two introduced diseases. So they've been very busy looking for alternative crops, and the bamboo is really a pretty amazing fit for them. We did test plots over the last 16 months, and it way outperformed what any of us were thinking. In 16 months, it's over 25 feet tall and a solid hedge, with each plant maybe having 30 to 50 poles, cones coming up. And the reason why it's performed so well is basically Florida is an old sandbar, so the soil's not great. And when they clear the native forest there, the heat basically destroys the native biome, the soil biome. And so what our partners have done is they've taken all of the green waste from the neighboring county, and every time they are losing a field to disease, they plow the trees under and put down 2 to 3 feet of compost. And so they planted the test plots in a compost trench, and it's phenomenal what that has done in terms of the increased speed and performance of it. So we're excited that we'll be able to expand our efforts there. They're already prepping 100 acres that will become the propagation farm for doing thousands of acres in Florida. And we're focused right now on the citrus land because of the trees are all dying, and they're really looking for an alternative crop. But there's also 4.6 million tons of planted pine, where they cut down the native forest and have planted these pine pulp trees for mostly for the pulp industry. And what's interesting is we can also feed the pulp industry with every acre of bamboo can feed as much pulp out as 10 acres of trees. It's not my focus, because the building materials are the century-long lockup that we need of the atmospheric carbon. But even the change from wood to bamboo paper, it was a dramatic amount of CO2 that could be sequestered that way, because you basically leave the trees standing. So you're not killing, say you put in 1 million acres of bamboo, you're saving 10 million acres of trees from being cut, and they just keep getting bigger, and they're storing the carbon on the stump as long as you don't cut the tree.
Oh, thank you. That's great information to know. And then I had one more piece I wanted to ask. What is the emissions that you guys produced in order to, I guess, convert the bamboo into like usable wood, or like what would be the wood replacement?
Sure. So there's several things we're doing. The initial production in the Philippines is we're taking the giant bamboo and actually making laminates out of it. And but there's also a material called woven strand that's a crushed bamboo product. It has a bit more glue in it, but it's really beautiful. It looks like a hardwood. You'll see it in a lot of bamboo flooring now. Our big, the direction we're headed is for being, basically the fiber replacement for oriented strand board and for large scale plywood production. Again, Joe, our manufacturing expert, his factory just outside of Vancouver was producing millions of tons of board feet of plywood a year. And so the goal with this is to actually get, large scale plantings in place, and then use those, using the carbon credits to, get the plantings done. And then once those mature, that fiber goes into, we'll continue having the whole range of products. So we'll, have the high value products like the laminates, which really look like a really fine hardwood. There's the only free and clear lumber left is coming from old growth forests being cut. So then the bamboo is without knots. It has the nodes in it, but this is a large bamboo. So you see, they're big slats that make up the laminates. And so it's really beautiful material.
You had a picture on one of yours. Could you maybe go back to that?
Yeah, let's see if I can.
Just so they can see. It's actually a really pretty color too. So to preface or back to where he started, he was, and he still is, building homes with bamboo. And I guess the best way to explain it was he's building them like, I mean, it kind of looks like rattan bamboo furniture, like you're using the real bamboo and the poles of the bamboo, and that's how he makes the homes. And those are the homes that he's done for 25 years. So now moving forward, in addition to that type of building, there's also this other part where it looks more like lumber, and it's much stronger, and it's really pretty. And it's not, it looks like a really nice, I don't know how to explain it, but you'll probably be able to show the color in a photo.
Yeah, let me see if I can get to there. Yeah.
And then I think another person, Keith, had mentioned, since you're on those slides after that, you can return to the local benefit slide, because I know that you kind of zoomed through that one pretty quick.
Sure, yeah, you bet. Let's see if I can get to the, this is, my computer is acting up now. It's trying to get back to
And Andrea just put in the 2 links to his 2 websites for the different types of build. So if you go to bambooliving.com, that one will be the traditional, I just say rattan furniture because I think that's what people are thinking of when they think of bamboo. And those are the ones that have been through Category 5 hurricanes and things like that he was mentioning. And then the Rizome is the new company with the carbon sequestration and the actual lumber that is being created as of right now. Correct? Yeah.
That is, yeah. Let's see.
I know that Jacob had his hand up, so after you get a chance to go through those couple slides, maybe Jacob can jump in as well.
Sure.
I know you kind of said a lot. It might, not everybody's completely knowledgeable on all the stuff that you said. So I think some of it might have flew over some people's heads. So I can definitely ask a couple questions that you can explain some things to.
Sure, you bet. Okay,
easier
great.
to break things down.
So this picture is the laminated lumber, the laminated beams. Let's see if I've got some other ones.
That other one of the bamboo house is actually like the bamboo.
So this is the actual bamboo poles that we're building with. So the structural frame in this is actually, this is what my the housing company Bamboo Living is doing.
And the neat thing about this is he's actually gotten these passed and permitted in all the counties, right? So it's not, it's legally, you can actually build like this.
Yeah, exactly. Anywhere in the US, we're approved for construction. Yeah. Let's see. So I wish I had some.
Maybe in the very beginning, was that where you had the those It had the one that Kevin was talking about for the local.
Oh, yeah. So the benefits for here for
Yeah.
Hawaii. Yeah. Let's
Right
see.
before maybe that.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe you can go over those because.
Sure, you bet. So one of the things is, again, in terms of watershed recharge and minimizing downstream flooding. That's the bamboo. We're using that in the Philippines for that. And then the bamboo we're using, there's invasive running bamboos that, like on Maui, you'll see where they've taken over entire valleys. The bamboos we use are not those types. They're all the giant clumpers, and they stay put. So they do get big, but they can be part of a diverse ecosystem. And then in terms of the wildfire issue, the reason there's so much mature bamboo in Mindanao where we're working is that they cut down pretty much the island was deforested a generation ago. And they changed their climate when they did that. The dry seasons got drier, and grass came in and kind of took over where the trees had been. And so any small trees, they were getting these brush fires every season, and they'd kill all the little trees. And the only thing that survived the brush fires was the giant bamboo. So they just kept planting the bamboo for the last 20 years. So one of the things we're doing is using the bamboo as part of a larger scale reforestation project. We're working with several of the indigenous tribes there to interplant in deforested areas, and then also add native hardwoods into the mix. The idea there is that what was driving the deforestation was the value of the logs. With the bamboo, we're able to provide an income every year once the bamboo matures, so there's less pressure to cut the native hardwoods. And then, so then again, here we would plant in the where there's the adequate waterfall, like Hamakua Coast and windward areas. But as the we progress with the a large scale project, you will get some. Again, there was an example of this where they in south of Captain Cook, between Captain Cook and Ocean View, they cut down the native forest. The clouds did not form and drop water into Ocean View, so we weren't able to fill their catchments. They planted Macnut, and now that the Macnut is mature, the rain is back for Ocean View. So this can happen at a micro scale where we can actually reshape the microclimates to really assist getting rain where we need it.
So with what you're saying, I think on Kaho'olawe, for example, it's like the hardest island to grow anything and keep. Is that something you could put bamboo on and it'll actually help that? Because that's what everybody's been doing on Kaho'olawe, try to
Sure.
plant stuff and everything.
It's possible. Yeah, I fly over Kaho'olawe when I come over to Oahu, and it's tough to see. It's still heavily degraded. It's a lot of bare clay, red soil on top. It wouldn't be my first place to start, but it would certainly be worth trying some experimentation with some of the more drought tolerant varieties. What happens with the bamboo is when it hits a drought, you lose productivity, but the plant doesn't typically die off. It'll drop its leaves and go dormant, but when the rains start back up, it'll kick back in. It's a grass, basically, so it does the same thing as other grasses are doing.
And then
yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was just gonna say, once you're finished, I think Jacob had had a question.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, my
so
question kind of revolves around that as well. Well, one of my questions. So I want to ask, like, are bamboo forests typically monocultures, or do they create space for increasing biodiversity in the area that it's in?
yeah, so the clumping bamboos are typically can be part of a very diverse ecosystem. You know, they stay put, they do get big, but again, in the Philippines, what we're doing is we're planting in those grasslands on the slopes and, you know, on the edges of the rivers. And then as the bamboo matures and shades out the grass, we can interplant with native hardwoods and really bring back diversity to an area that has been missing it for, you know, more than a generation.
That's good. And also, because it grows so fast, I wanted to ask if there's any impact on soil nutrient availability in the areas that you plant bamboo. Like,
Yeah, so
use up all the
actually,
nutrients, or
yeah, it actually, one of the things that I've seen with it is it's actually building soil very rapidly. Our factory in Vietnam we built on old degraded agricultural land. It was basically no organic material, hard packed clay. And we planted bamboo everywhere we didn't have a building. And within about 6 months, we would have soil and earthworms, and, you know, it would really, it's fast in terms of changing, you know, the microbiome. And the interesting thing is, one of the pieces that we're working towards, a friend of mine's been working on biochar for the last decade.
yeah,
And so being able to, and biochar is exceptionally useful in tropical soil. One of the problems with deforestation in the tropics is that, you know, once the forest is gone, the hot sun basically bakes the soil and kills the microbiome. And, you know, the trees were in symbiotic relationship with that microbiome. So the introduction of the biochar into that soil can really, and also inoculated. So that was the other thing, is you could double it by doing a fungal dominated compost, you know, tea that you inoculate the char, you inoculate the char with the spores from the, you know, that material.
Can you explain what biochar is for people?
Sure. So what it is basically it's charcoal. It's cooking any kind of organic material in low oxygen. So you're basically burning off all of the volatiles and leaving the carbon. And so what ends up happening is you have this matrix, you know, activated carbon. The reason why they use it for filtration is that it has a huge surface area. And so it's similar with the biochar, and that three-dimensional matrix provides the structure for allowing, you know, a microbiome to redevelop. And what's interesting is the biochar doesn't break down; it just stays as carbon in the soil, and then you're rapidly increasing the soil carbon by improving the microbiome.
yeah, water intrusion and nutrient retention. I really like biochar. Can that be scaled up? I know it's difficult to scale up biochar.
Well, that's the whole piece. She had said that 2 authors of the climate report said, you know, they'd be happy to advise once she got a project together. The problem has been getting an economic engine behind the biochar, but that's what the bamboo does. So basically, what we'll end up doing is, you know, planting the millions of acres of bamboo, and those become the source for the biochar, and that gets put on the neighboring fields, and you end up dramatically improving, you know, crop performance, so that you're not having pressure on the surrounding forest to
Mhm.
further, cut and burn, slash and burn agriculture. So it's really a, part of an integrated solution that, I didn't even run the numbers for that. I just used the climate report number of, they said it had a 300 to 660 million tons a year potential. So I just added that in, figuring we'll maximize its potential by, getting it, available to, across the globe in tropical climates. And it's interesting because one of the largest customers for the biochar has been the citrus industry in Florida.
Mm.
Again, because of that sandy soil with a very low organic matter.
And was there conversation around processing it for biochar versus biofuels, or?
Yeah, we've looked at the biofuel aspect again, because there's that 1-to-10 ratio with trees. The biofuel is not a good lockup in terms of storage mechanism.
Yeah.
But if you can save, with getting 1 million acres of bamboo producing biofuel, you're saving 10 million acres of trees from being cut, and those trees just keep getting bigger. And so that it's again that multiplying factor with the stored carbon.
Well, we're pretty much out of time here. We're at a little over 7. And I know that for everybody's time's sake, if you do have a few more minutes to spare, I did want to let everybody know. Oh, you know what? Could you, I gotta share my screen one more time before we jump off. Let's see. And then if you did have a couple more questions that you wanted to answer, if anybody else needs to jump off, feel free. But before we end, I always like to do this part, which is our 4-way test. And then, do you have a few more minutes afterwards?
Yeah, I'm available.
There's a couple people that wanted to ask a few more questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick, for all of our members, we always like to do the 4-way test. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, and do. And the first one is it the truth? Number 1, is it the truth? And you guys can repeat after me if you guys want. Number 2, is it fair?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number 3, will it build goodwill and
better friendships?
Number 4,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Number 5,
is it eco-friendly and fun?
Is it eco-friendly
Yes.
and fun?
Eco-friendly.
We always like to add that one in. And for those of you that need to jump off, feel free. I'll probably take a 5 or 10 more minutes here with David if you guys have some more questions, because I know we only got to tackle a couple of you. Is there anybody that has some questions for David?
I had a question.
Sure.
Hi, David. Thank you.
Hi.
Really
Pleasure.
fascinating body of work you've done. I mean, it's really
Thank
great
you.
to see that direction to try to bring forth a new material into the market. And my question is concerning stick frame housing, because it is a quite large market. And
Sure.
I know you mentioned like laminates and then plywood, but I'm curious why you haven't talked about maybe a 2x4 or the potential of bamboo replacing, I don't know what material they use, if it's like oak or pine or something in these stick frame homes. If you think that bamboo has a potential to kind of supersede those materials and be grown in Hawaii, or if that's something that you think is not economical, or it's just not practical
Uh, no, it is practical and economical, and we are planning to do it. It really
Oh, here,
the bamboo is about twice as strong as the Douglas fir used for. That's what most of houses in Hawaii are framed with. So the bamboo is about twice as strong as that, and it nails really well. So you can use all of the tools that you would normally use on a job site, you can use on the bamboo. The kind of the efficiency of material is one of the things that I had done. We did a patent on what I called it's a spaced stud, and what it does is one of the issues with wood framing is the thermal bridging that happens where the studs are. And the bamboo is so strong that you can create a vertical truss that basically allows you space to run plumbing and electrical through the openings. And so you're not cutting studs, you're not drilling for electrical. So it should speed up the construction process. And yeah, that's in the plan to implement, which is again part of an overall picture.
His current stuff now, they're actually like kits, so you can and they assemble it together in a kit in what, a week?
Oh yeah, exactly. Typically in a few days. There's a video on our website where they put up 2 houses in 2 days, and they're basically panelized. So again, a similar thing, John, with the framing, here on Big Island is HPM does basically they do prefabricated trusses and prefabricated wall panels, and that could all be done with a bamboo-based laminated lumber, and be actually stronger than the wood houses, as well as being able to be more affordable as we've got to get to scale to get that affordability, but we think we're actually going to hit it even next year. So
wow.
it's pretty quick. Yeah. Wow. We probably won't be selling a lot of product into that segment until we actually have the manufacturing capacity in place. But I was on a call earlier with one of our investors, and he just said, this is because we've just been doing this bootstrapping, and he just said, this is ridiculous. You need a strategic investor. Let me go find you one. And with that, we could, implement this plan without having to do the sequential process, and actually, address the climate crisis in a matter of decades. It would take
Isn't this crazy?
teams. Yeah, it is. It's really wild. Yeah, and he's an amazing guy. He's in the development, family developer, and so he's really been focused on construction, and he's put together a what do you call it? A strategic investment fund that's they just got a big pension fund to come on board, and they could end up being the ones that fund this whole thing.
And in Hawaii, we don't have a carbon sequestration project other than, I think, Legacy, who's what we're working with for the trees. And so, I mean, there's a lot of people, and plans for carbon credits needed in the future for
Right.
probably coming down the pike for legislation on our end in our state. So it would be nice to be able to put our money back to Hawaii versus finding other places to buy carbon credits. So
Absolutely. Yeah. We should be doing significant carbon drawdown here. That we've got the perfect climate for it. We need the material, we don't need to be shipping everything to the island. And it would create an export industry for the islands as well.
So, well, John is an architect as well.
Wonderful, John. Yeah, thank you.
You guys should touch base.
Yeah, please do. I did put my email in the chat.
I copied it, I think so.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Yeah.
I
That's
just,
good.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, David.
Hey, Andrea,
Um,
nice to see
Hi,
you.
nice to see you. Hi,
Yeah.
Christina.
Hi.
I just have a question because I see like this is such a great vision, and if you get the funding and it starts to grow, it's just it can just take off and get really huge. And I just wondered, as far as like the vision for the sustainable development goals and the integrity of the vision that you have, and still being kind of in this old model of extraction and people trying to make money, um, how would you handle
Yeah,
that as a business
sure.
model?
Well,
If you have to grow really fast, really big.
right. Well, one of the crazy things about bamboo, right now we're deforesting at 18 million acres a year. To completely turn around the climate crisis, we would need about twice that to 4 times that, depending on the density and the size of the bamboo, to turn the ship and run it in the other direction. And so it's any good idea can get screwed up, but I've had a really hard time trying to figure out how to screw this one up. It's because you want to look at that in terms of saying, okay, what would they do if you got unscrupulous investors or that sort of thing. And the fascinating thing for me, like I was just in Napa in a beautiful home there, but it's all these giant beams of Douglas fir old growth, and those to the wealthiest people with the biggest crazy mega mansions, if they were building it with bamboo, they would actually be helping the planet. What got me started with bamboo is I said, I'm never going to do another second or third home. We were joking about it right now because somebody's come to us for a bamboo second home, and so we're not turning them away, but so really that thing of that it becomes the storage mechanism, and then also tying all of these sustainable development goals to it really gives us the opportunity to make this something that really has a social justice impact. Again, like I said, I don't know of any project other than ours in the Philippines that actually addresses all 17 of the United Nations development goals, sustainable development goals. And our goal would be to meet as many of those with each of the projects as we could.
So with the X Prize, so has that been submitted, or?
We're working on it. We're getting the fellow that took us through the USAID grant process is putting a proposal together for the submittal of that. I did the write-up for it, and I really kind of wowed myself when I looked at the avoided emissions. I knew it was going to be significant, but it's a crazy thing because I think I may have mentioned it, but a wood building is 1/5 the weight of a concrete building. So you end up, every ton of wood you put into use for building, you're saving 5 tons of concrete from being used. And the number's even better for bamboo because it's about twice as strong as the wood used. So it's got these big multiplying factors that are really pretty incredible. And we need to deal with concrete use and its impact. Actually, what was interesting was Alex said that's one of his companies that he's funding right now is a new type of cement that is actually performs better than Portland cement and doesn't have the associated emissions. So there's help coming in lots of ways, but it's really important that we move on it as quickly as possible.
Awesome. Jacob, did you have anything else?
Yeah, wanted to ask, have you seen anything coming out of Biden's economic plan or infrastructure plan or the Conference of the Parties that you're excited about with regards?
I'll be excited when it passes and there's something there. And I think that you know, that they're Joel, who's helping us with the, you know, the X Prize grant writing, he said there's going to be, you know, grants there already that are available that far exceed what the X Prize could do. And so he was going to put together some proposals for that as well. And yeah, we just need to do everything we can as quickly as possible. And one of the things for us is really, once we do have funding in place, is building out the teams that, you know, we would need a Hawaii-based team to figure this all out for Hawaii and, you know, find the right land and, you know, develop, you know, there's probably, you know, tax incentives available, you know, we locate in economic zones and, you know, just all of the pieces to put together a large scale project. My sense is that the old sugarcane land like Hamakua would be ideal with the high rainfall and the old cane roads for hauling. And, you know, there's basically the, you know, the old factory sites and all of that.
I mean, there's a lot of ag land that doesn't have water rights. And I don't know if it would be to get it up and started. And then after that, like rainfall is enough. But that's a huge factor for a lot of places with people trying to purchase land today and try to farm.
Sure.
Like they just don't
Sure.
have. So this kind of crop is just ideal, right? Like that and sugarcane, where it doesn't need as like the same type of water that everything needs.
Right, right. And what we would do is start in areas with significant rainfall. And then at the borders of those areas, you would be creating more rainfall. So you could expand those borders over time. You know, the Hamakua is quite a bit wetter than we are down here in the Pahoa area. But there was sugarcane, you know, all the way down this far. And so it should be possible to, you know, on that old cane land to, you know, plant. And so, but it is easier to start where the rainfall's there and you don't have to be worried about the irrigation and all of that.
Awesome. I think, are we good?
I'm grateful that you guys took the extra time, and you know, thank you for the invitation, Christina. And
yeah, well, we have this as a recording, so when I have the time, I've been a little delayed on uploading these. I will upload this to our YouTube channel too. So if anybody wants to grab it from there, share it, it'll be there too once I get it up.
Wonderful.
All right, thank you, David.
Thank you all. Yes, thank you. All the best. Yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha. Yes.